Good morning, everyone. My name is Sabrina Kent. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a Senior Vice President at the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the NGLCC and our collaborating California affiliate partners, welcome to the NGLCC and California Affiliate Chamber LGBTBE Town Hall, presented in partnership with Southern California Edison. We have a fantastic program ahead for the day, but I want to start by saying, if you are looking to leave here with every question answered, you will be disappointed. Today is the start of a conversation that will move on well beyond these few hours. We will cover three very important topics and culminate today's dialogue with a networking session to hear from you about what we can be focusing on as we continue this conversation and move forward. If you're here to be a part of the dialogue, find paths to move ahead, and start the journey towards progress, you are definitely in the right place. So with that, it's my pleasure to turn it over to an amazing friend and colleague, Joycelyn Yu, who is Senior Program Manager at Southern California Edison.
Thank you, Sabrina. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon if you're tuning in from the East Coast. I'm Joycelyn Yu. I'm with Southern California Edison Supplier Diversity and Development, and it's my pleasure to be here with all of you today, virtually. We are a proud sponsor of today's LGBTBE Town Hall hosted by the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce. First and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge our longstanding partnership with Team NGLCC, Justin, Greg, Sabrina, Jonathan, Lauren. Thank you for hosting today's town hall and for doing all the work that you do to expand the economic opportunities for LGBTBEs. At SCE, we're strongly committed to growing our spend and investing in the development and growth of LGBTBEs. LGBTBEs and diverse businesses are integral as we lead the fight against climate change with our Pathway 2045 plan, focused on increasing carbon-free energy and accelerating the electrification of transportation and buildings. So today, we're here to inform, learn, and explore how we can be intentional collaborators to advance greater inclusion within the LGBT community. So with that, I'd like to turn it back over to Sabrina.
Joy, thank you so much. We are so proud to host this program with you all today and to start these really important dialogues. And so to get things kicked off with our first session of the day, it's my pleasure to turn it over to my mentor, my friend, my boss, and my colleague, Justin Nelson, co-founder and president at NGLCC. Welcome, Justin.
Hey, Sabrina, thank you so much. Appreciate the work that you do and your leadership for helping make this town hall possible today. It is definitely a village that has brought us to this point. I just want to take a minute before we get started. I just happened to be on a call with the White House and our partners from the National Asian American and Pacific Islander Chamber of Commerce right before this town hall, discussing the topic of AAPI, discrimination and violence. And I just want to take a moment to reflect on not only what happened in Atlanta, but what has been happening in our country, targeting our friends, colleagues, and community members in the AAPI community as a result of COVID-19 and other discriminatory acts. NGLCC stands very strong and proud in solidarity with our diverse partners. The reality is, and all of you on the call know this, that as an LGBT community, we cross all of those other lines. We are an intersectional community by nature, and it is disheartening when we see other communities, members of our own community, that are singled out for violence and discrimination. So we will continue our work together. We encourage all of you to do that. And I just want you to know, if you are an AAPI member of the LGBT community, ally to the LGBT community, we care about you and we care about you being a part of NGLCC. So welcome. One other point that I want to make before we get started with today's program, I just think it's the right thing to do and time warrants it. I want to say a few quick words about LGBT goal setting. I think that is a topic that many of you have heard about, and I would not be doing my job if I did not address this right at the outset of today's event. Goals help us aim and keep focused on success. That's why setting goals that challenge us to work hard and innovate solutions to our obstacles often lead to results that move entire industries and communities forward. I want to thank all of my colleagues from the NGLCC California affiliate chambers for your hard work and your leadership. I want to thank the leaders at Build Out California and our partners in the joint utilities for working on the important issue of goal setting. It is no secret that we did not end up in agreement on the goal recommendation. Those of us in the business advocacy organizational community feel strongly that the goal should be set at 1.5%. And many of us have come together to share that position through public comment in a joint letter. We hope the commission will give serious consideration to our request and the rationale that we laid out in our comment letter. However, today is not a discussion about goal setting or our very real differences in approach to the goal. Today is an opportunity to shine the light on leadership, share strategies for success, understand and address roadblocks, and ensure that we lay a foundation for the success of LGBTBEs, our affiliates and partners as we collectively work to increase the opportunities for LGBT-owned businesses in the long term. With that as our backdrop, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome this morning CPU President Dr. Maribel Batcher. President Batcher assumed the role of president of the CPUC on July 12th of 2019. She was named by Governor Newsom, and on December 30th of 2020, she was reappointed as president, with her term ending on January 1st, 2027. President Batcher previously served as the first secretary of the California Government Operations Agency. In this role, she led forward-looking efforts to revamp the way the state approaches data and technology, modernize the civil services system, and led the implementation of key initiatives to green state government and promoting renewable energy. In her role as Secretary of the Government Operations Agency, President Batcher has won several awards, including Governing Magazine's National 2017 Public Official of the Year, the American Society for Public Administration Sacramento Chapter's 2018 Liz Hill Public Official of the Year, and California Women Leads Woman of the Year. During her service at the federal level, President Batcher was honored with the Medal for Distinguished Public Service with the Bronze Palm. That is the highest civilian honor from the Department of Defense, and the Medal for Distinguished Public Service from the Department of the Navy. Before heading to the Government Operations Agency, President Batcher was Vice President for Public Policy and Corporate Social Responsibility at Caesars Entertainment, which happens to be one of the more than 300 corporate partners of NGLCC that are actively looking to engage you as a certified LGBT business enterprise. So simply put, this morning we have a powerhouse with us to kick things off. It is my pleasure to welcome CPUC President Maribel Batcher. Madam President, welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Justin. I really appreciate that over-the-top introduction. Whenever my bio is read, I think, oh, good Lord, I'm old.
Accomplished.
So, thank you, though. I really appreciate you and so appreciate NGLCC and all that you're doing for our economy throughout the United States. I've been a long supporter, both as a public servant as well as my time at Caesars. So I appreciate very much being invited by all of you. And I also appreciate your establishing the goals, and I understand your concerns about the 1.5%. But as you said, Justin, we're not here today to to talk about that necessarily.
Well, thank you for that. And while the work that you're doing now is probably a lot more important to the work that we do, I have to admit, I probably had a lot more fun at your previous company. So, but we're learning as we go. For our stakeholders joining us today that might not fully understand the work of the CPUC, would you share a little background on the commission and perhaps expand a bit when it comes to the role public utilities procurement in the state of California plays?
Sure. Happy to illuminate that. We are sort of a mystery, even though we're the largest regulator in the country. The CPUC, the California Public Utilities Commission, regulates services and utilities, protects consumers, safeguards the environment, and assures Californians access to safe and reliable utility infrastructure and services. So it's water, it's transportation, it's utilities, both electric, gas, and water. It's, when I say transportation, it's railroad crossings and railroad safety. It's Uber and Lyft. This is why I look so tired at the end of the week.
A little bit of a portfolio.
Yeah, it's quite something. And we have approximately 1,300 employees. We have a small office in Los Angeles. Our headquarters by statute constitution is San Francisco. And we also have offices in Sacramento where I reside. Our operating budget is about $500 million. Very little of that comes from the general fund. The CPUC plays a role in strengthening the health of California's economy. A healthy and vibrant economy, as you all know and practice, is one of that is inclusive and mirrors its constituents. The CPUC regulates, as I just said, electric, gas, telecommunications, I forgot that earlier, water utilities, and as I said, transportation network companies. Through their procurement activities, contribute about $35 billion a year to the California economy. Our utility supplier diversity program, which we're here to talk about today, is created through a general order. We operate by general orders. General Order 156, which monitors, encourages, promotes, provides guidance to ensure that the utilities procurement spend includes historically underrepresented minority-owned businesses, MBEs, women-owned business, WBE, disabled veteran-owned businesses, DVBE, and the LGBT-owned businesses, LGBTBE, collectively called diverse businesses. In addition to promoting the inclusion of historically disadvantaged groups, the CPUC Utility Supplier Diversity Program also brings diversity of ideas that drives efficiency and innovation to contractors. This program has been around for about 35 years, and the utilities have come to view their supplier diversity programs, as our friends from Edison will attest, as an imperative in their business model for cost reduction and efficiency, and frankly, business evolution. So GO 156 requires utilities to develop a supplier diversity program and to annually submit a report that describes their supplier diversity performance for the year and the planning and plans for the next year. And the GO 56 also requires utilities to have a subcontractor program that encourages their prime contractors to include diverse businesses in their procurement activities for all categories of goods and services. In 2015, Assembly Bill 1678 added LGBT business enterprises, as you all well know, you in California, to the program, and the CPUC modified at that time GO 156 accordingly. GL 156 established a 5-year plan to set a target percentage goal for LGBT business enterprises in order to gather data and experience to establish a meaningful goal. The 5-year plan has come to its conclusion, and the CPUC is in the process of opening an order. I'm going to just have to say it. This is our archaic bureaucratic stuff, but we have to open an order instituting rulemaking, which we call an OIR, proceeding. It's how we do our business this year to set a target goal for the LGBTBE and to implement Senate Bill 255 that includes community choice aggregators, the CCAs that are established here in California, the energy service providers, storage, solar companies to the program. So it's going to be very important to add the CCAs, who are ever more important in our energy mix, in our procurement energy mix in California. So that's a broad brush of what we do. I know it's a lot of mouthful of words, but that's a broad brush, Justin. I hope that helps.
It absolutely does. And I feel like I need to be able to have some sort of awards to give out here, as you were able to get every acronym out for each of the diverse certification classifications. I think you summed it up real nice when you just said, we call them diverse businesses. And that's kind of the lingo that we adopt when we talk about our work across communities. You mentioned a couple of interesting things. I think probably to most people, the idea of rulemaking, they don't quite understand everything that goes behind it. I happen to have, I guess, the luxury or misfortune, however you want to look at it, of 30 years in DC, having been on every side of that, from passing the law to implementing the rulemaking to now advocating. And I know that there were some things in terms of, I don't know if you want to call them inefficiencies or things that I might want to be able to see changed in the processes that I was a part of. I think maybe sort of starting out talking about why we're here. The community's excited to build and see the growth we've been seeing at CPUC and in public sector contracting across the country that we've been very instrumental in helping to pass. What's the view from the top? I mean, in your position, it's been almost 2 years since you've been at head of CPUC. What are your personal goals for future of statewide utility procurement, supplier diversity? What do you see? What do you want to see?
Well, it's a big question. What we really need to do, I think, in terms of our supplier diversity programs, is we really need to bring some very important, or continue increasing our transparency, really, so you in the economy can really understand the programs and benefit from them, take advantage of them. The PUC ensures transparency of the utility supplier diversity programs and holds them accountable through their required annual performance reports, which I mentioned earlier, and the plans which are available to the public on our website, by the way. If you go to our utility supplier diversity webpage on the CPUC website, you can find the annual reports. I think they're very important. The PUC has established a certifying agency called the Supplier Clearinghouse that verifies the diverse status of the MBEs, WBEs, and LGBTBEs, and maintains a database that the utilities rely on to identify diverse businesses and count their diverse spend in their annual report. So it's very important. I mean, that's where the information lies. That's where those who want to become part of the program can gather a lot of the information. And the CPUC also hosts a public hearing every year. It's called our En Banc. I think many of you have attended. And we discuss with the utilities, they are present, the senior leadership of the utilities. We discuss their supplier diversity program achievements, their barriers, their challenges, sustainability and future goals that they have. I have been with the PUC about 1.5 years, and I attended one, thank goodness, one en banc. The second month I was on the PUC in Fresno, the PUC was trying to conduct the en bancs around the state, not just at our headquarters in San Francisco, which was really good. It gave the opportunity for the communities to really engage. And all of the commissioners really look forward to and strongly participate in the en bancs. It's not window dressing. We have the utilities there. We do a pretty deep dive of questioning of them. The founder, our wonderful founder of the Supplier Diversity Program and NGO 156, Gwen Moore, former member of the California legislature, would always attend. God bless her, she has passed, but she would always attend and sit on the dais with us. This last year was virtually done, just like we live our lives today. And this year, our GO 156 en banc will take place October 14th. October 14th this fall. So please mark your calendars. It's very important. It's very engaging, and it really puts a spotlight on what the utility spend is and not is then, but the planning for the future as well. So transparency, we've got to bring more transparency to the program.
Do you think that, just a sidebar question there, that you'll be able to host the en banc in person this year?
I hope so. Stephanie Green, who I think you're going to talk to at the end of this, sort of as a wonderful bookend, she is in charge of our program and does a marvelous job. And she and her team will be making that decision along with the commissioners. But I hope by October we're going to be able to get back to some type of normalcy.
I couldn't agree more. You know, we're right in the midst right now of determining our annual conference, which is this sort of conclave of LGBTBEs from really around the globe now, but getting together, and a number of our corporate partners, a lot of our utilities partners, and it's just sort of made us rethink the way that we do business. And you know, I think there are probably things that'll be with us long after COVID leaves that are maybe enhancements and process differences that we you know, had to make to accommodate. I mean, we went through 5 years of digital transformation in 14 months, and nothing kicks you in the rear to get through a crisis like, or through a transformation like a crisis, right?
Yeah. No, we had the similar experience at the PUC. I mean, a lot of our processes were very, very process oriented by law, by statute, by constitution. And too much of our processes were paper-based.
Yeah.
And the attorneys and the administrative law judges all felt that is the way it had to be. But 1 month later, guess what? We weren't paper-based anymore. And the other thing that we have found, I'm off track a little bit, Justin, but just that we have found as a silver lining is when you do have meetings virtually, such as this, we have greater participation from the public because they don't have to travel to San Francisco, for example, or Sacramento or Los Angeles to attend our twice monthly commission meetings. They can just dial in. And so we have, sometimes this is hard, but we have, instead of 20 or 30 minutes of public comment, we have 2 hours of public comment. But it can be wearing at times, but I really like it very much because it brings more transparency to our process for the greater public. And after all, the greater public for us are the ratepayers, and that's who we work for.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you saying that. In fact, I think, you know, I have no doubt you would have worked hard to accommodate an in-person schedule, but the ability to meet like this makes it much easier to work with, you know, people in your positions schedules to be able to accommodate this. You bring up, you've mentioned it a couple of times right now around transparency, more transparency. We couldn't agree more around accountability and transparency. They matter tremendously to all of us in the diverse supplier space, so we can accurately track, measure, support our businesses through their journey towards CPUC and other types of contracts. Are we getting the full picture of how each company is or isn't meeting their goal? And then I have a follow-up to that in terms of what we should be doing or could be doing to be more transparent.
Okay. Well, that really is a very good and important question. Thank you, Justin. Well, GO 156 describes in detail what is expected in the reports that must be submitted that I mentioned and that are indeed are on our website. Let me just go over some of the items that are required in those reports. The internal and external activities such as the internal training and engagement, senior leadership's commitment from the companies, reporting processes, funding, resources, business development programs, outreach, relationship with various business organizations. They are to have a summary of diverse spend with a breakdown by diverse category, ethnicity, product, service category, for example. The total number of diverse businesses contracted by that company. Description of the meeting set target goals or the explanation for not meeting those goals, very important. The summary of the prime contractor's utilization of diverse businesses. There is a description of efforts made and plans to recruit diverse businesses in the categories where the utility is low, such as perhaps legal or financial services, or even sometimes other types of professional services. People think it's all widgets, it's things. Sometimes that small business contractor is more in the service areas. Fuel and power procurement are also listed, and the areas that are considered highly technical in nature. It incorporates also plans for encouraging prime contractors to engage diverse subcontractors and provide subcontracting opportunities. Very important. The utilities also report. Reports are available, as I said, on our website, our supplier diversity webpage. And CPUC ensures that the information described in GO 156 are included in the reports for transparency and accountability. We strive for that. And therefore, anyone can refer to these reports for a clear understanding of the utility supplier diversity program and see who is committed, who is exceeding expectations, who is perhaps a little on the complacent side, who is struggling. So this is part of our transparency. It's there for you all to really see. In addition, the utility supplier program is audited. We audit it. Every 2 years, one annual GO 156 report is randomly selected and audited to confirm that the most recently diverse spend and the program is actually accurate. I know in my previous job, we had some real problems, sometimes people chunking up, if you will, companies to make them seem as if they were small businesses when indeed they really weren't. They were parts of a larger business. So things like that are really important, that there's no taking advantage of the program. As I mentioned earlier, the CPUC holds the annual meeting, the en banc, to discuss the performance and the plans of the utilities. So, and that always includes a broad sector of the business community and community-based organizations and business associations, gives them the opportunity to share their ideas and makes recommendations. So they are there as well as the utilities. And then of course, our supplier diversity staff meets with each utility to have an in-depth review of their report and program activities. So the report isn't just submitted and put up on our website. This gives us individual attention, and monitoring allows us to really individualize and monitor. And that's a very important aspect of the accountability. And again, the transparency of our program, of our GO 156 program.
You mentioned a couple things that I really picked up on, and I want to make sure we reiterate them for people that have tuned in, especially for suppliers. Also, the web address that President Batcher is referring to, Jonathan has dropped it into the chat window, so you can find it there. You can go and look up the reports that are submitted by every single utility regulated by the CPUC. We routinely review those. I would be not being transparent if I didn't say I checked very closely on the spend parts of those reports, but there are a couple of other key elements to those reports that I think we could be doing a better job of. And it's also a little bit of, dare I say, homework for suppliers in terms of looking at what kinds of programs, educational initiatives, what is each utility doing to help businesses scale to be able to compete at that level. I know a number of companies do that. I would encourage you, if you're a supplier that has tuned in, take a look at the companies you want to work with, take a look at what sort of educational opportunities they're offering, and then connect with us or directly with them to find out what you need to do to get into that particular education program and start building a relationship that way. It doesn't mean you can't go directly in and have a conversation, or we can't make an introduction, but it also shows things that these companies are trying to do to help companies scale. And I think it also holds them accountable that what they're putting in their report in terms of educational offerings are truly being offered in a manner that is accessible for the kinds of suppliers that are here today and a part of a number of the diverse constituencies. I would be curious to know, just from your experience, your expertise, it's easy for us to sit on the one side and say, utilities should be doing this, utilities should be doing this, more transparency, more transparency. There should be more accountability for everybody, and that includes us as the organizational partner. One thing I would put on that is accountability on helping to identify and certify the kinds of businesses that fit into some of these categories, maybe lining up with some of these plans for recruiting suppliers where they have low number of diverse suppliers. Is there anything else that comes to mind for you, just based on that idea that organizations could do to be better partners?
Sure, there's always more we all can do. Frankly, the first thing is to continue working, as you just stated, Justin, with the CPUC, the utilities, and very importantly, the LGBTBEs to help us develop a robust pool of LGBTBEs certified with the supplier clearinghouse that I mentioned earlier. We have a current pool of about 449 as of checking yesterday. That's, you and I both know that's low, that we need to do better. And so I think of you all as a pipeline. Help them get certified, help them be knowledgeable as to how to do that. Work with the utilities and the CPUC to understand GO 156. Individual utility supplier diversity programs, understand them. The procurement processes, understand them to better guide your LGBTBEs to understand where they can plug in, if you will. That education and that getting them ready for utility contracts is critical. I mean, if you can't just put up your hand and say, I want to be a contractor or a subcontractor. You really have to be certified, and there's a process, obviously. You organize networking and educational sessions with utilities. Sponsor those. That would be very helpful, so that the LGBTBEs can connect with utilities to build the relationships. You all know relationships are critical, and make the sessions accessible, free, widely understood and known, marketed. I just can't say enough about how important it is to create those opportunities and relationships and opening those doors for your businesses. Um, and I think that what we really need to do is help the LGBTBEs overcome any of the barriers, to work with utilities such as on capacity and experience and capital and scale, insurance, risk management, all of those kinds of things that you can help us educate the community. And always let the CPE know if you have any concerns about the program or if you have new ideas. We are partners, so we want to have you share with us your thoughts and let us know about existing barriers or complications. Frankly, you are our eyes and ears in the community. So don't shy away from letting us know what your thinking is and what we should be doing better.
Well, thank you. And I think that's a two-way street. And I appreciate you just, we know we can do better and we need to do better. We have nationally just under 2,000 businesses. Not all of them qualify to do work in California, but we did do a data share towards the end of last year, which helped significantly increase those numbers. We'll do that again. And I want to use this opportunity to make a pretty major announcement. And that is that NGLCC will be investing in human capital to work directly with our affiliates in the state of California with the primary purpose of increasing significantly the number of diverse suppliers certified and eligible to do business through the CPUC. So let me reiterate that. We are investing in human capital, a person that sole responsibility will be to help us move the needle significantly in the state of California, working directly with the amazing leadership of our affiliate chambers up and down the state, working with the CPUC and working with our utility partners to significantly increase the number of members in our local affiliate chambers that are eligible to be certified and can then do work with the CPUC. So we're really excited about that. We take what you say at face value, that we have a job to do better, and that is work on increasing those numbers. Something else that you mentioned, and I'd be interested to maybe just dive a little deeper on it if you have some additional thoughts. Actually, it's timely. I was on a call yesterday with one of our utility partners, and the conversation around insurance did come up. And I liken it back to an event we did a couple of years ago with our financial services partner. We had a $10 million plus business good, meaty, successful business, maybe not the largest, but certainly not the smallest of the small. And this entrepreneur could not figure out why she kept getting kicked out of the RFPs at a certain stage. Well, we did this sort of front to back, top to bottom, side to side review with our financial services partners in an education session, and come to find out it was an insurance issue. And as the supplier, she was unaware of a particular kind of insurance she needed to have to be able to do business in the financial services industry. She would have never found that out had she not been a part of that educational program. Now she's, she might not be winning every contract, but she has since won contracts, which is incredibly exciting. I wonder if there's something you might want to impart to our suppliers that maybe underscores the importance of digging a little deeper to find out what all you need to do work in the utilities space. What's a little bit different than your average contract you may go after?
Yeah, well, as I've said, it's really important that we have training sessions and learning sessions. That's a great example that you just used, Justin, of a barrier. And that was a barrier of knowledge that the business owner didn't have. And even as sophisticated, I'm sure they were to be a $10 million business. That's an intricate, is knowing the intricacies of risk management and the kind of insurance one needs to have. That's important. So again, I think it goes to educational opportunities, getting people certified, getting them prepared to be certified. And thank you for your investment, the NGLCC's investment in human capital. That sort of thing is going to be helpful to all of us to educate more businesses in what they need to do. So even in my old job at GovOps, I had the state contracting and procurement, which is at the general services department. And I worked very hard on our state contracting and small and disadvantaged and disabled veterans programs. And I was always struggling to get the word out. It seemed like our pool just didn't grow. And it's just marketing, education. It sounds funny, but we do job fairs that I didn't think were particularly successful. I think now with the learnings we've all had with our virtual lives, living on Zoom and WebEx and so forth, maybe there's better outreach that we can do into the community. But outreach and marketing, critically important. Let people know of these programs and how to get certified. And, as I said earlier, help us understand better what we can do to cut down and remove barriers. And so it's extremely important. I can't say it enough in terms of getting knowledge to the business community.
Well, it's almost as though we speed past the major headline to celebrate here, because we're talking about the need for educate, because there's opportunity and so much opportunity. We forget the fact that it was a few short years ago that there was no public policy of procurement inclusion. Sure, we were working in the private sector, but California led the way. The CPUC implementing, the changes to 156 has led the way. So if we even just take a minute and think about what really has been lightning speed over the last 5 years, although I think for all of us in it, it feels like a lot less than lightning speed. There's a lot of things to be celebrating, and you absolutely have our commitment to work with the CPUC, with our affiliate network, and our utility partners to identify better ways and more effective ways of imparting that knowledge, and also identifying the kinds of suppliers that can rise to the occasion and meet these goals. We have just a couple of minutes left, and I just want to say, you mentioned barriers and identifying barriers and sharing that. We have a great panel coming up that's going to talk about that issue. So I will absolutely take you up on that and share some of the takeaways from that and from what we hear from other suppliers. I want to thank you for taking a minute, but before we close it down, I just want to know, is there any final words, anything you want to share, anything at all that you want to impart on this audience before we close this session?
Oh, well, thank you. There's a lot of opportunity that we don't have time to get into, but as you know, in terms of opportunity, GO 156 requires utilities to have some subcontractor programs. I mentioned it very briefly earlier, so that's extremely important and gives folks a lot more opportunity. I should probably mention, and these are not numbers that I'm proud of. They need to be bigger and better. The total, the LGBTBE spend when we first incorporated and made the changes to GO 156 in 15 was 6.1 million. Our largest year spend was 2019. It has been growing each year, I'm glad to say. It was 63.6 million. And preliminarily, of course, this is an odd year for all of us. The spend is down from that to 42.9, and that's not a final number yet, because we don't get all of the reports in until the 30th of March. but we need to grow those numbers. We all know we need to grow those numbers. You're a robust part of the business community and a robust part of our economy. I know when I was in another business, in the gambling business at Caesars Entertainment, we had a wonderful marketing campaign in the LGBTQ community, and it was just phenomenal what happened in the business, and it was great to see that growth, both in terms of what we were offering as an entertainment company, as well as the opportunity to introduce new things to the business and our economy, to the community. So I've seen it grow in my own personal life. And I know these programs can always be made better, and our outreach can always be made better. Barriers need to be removed so we can open up that door and that certification for more people to participate. So I really thank you all very much for this opportunity. Thank NGLCC and the entire community in California in particular, but all over the country. And California will continue to lead the way. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. Maybe we can get you to come back and we'll compare notes on where we are next year, because we're going to be in Vegas. It's our 20-year anniversary. We're at the other group's property, but I think that we volley it back and forth every time we're there.
That's great.
But
That's great.
I do just want to say, you mentioned the subcontracting piece, and just to close things out here, we can follow up on this with suppliers on the line. I believe it is reporting on contracts under over $1 million for construction, over $500,000 in other goods and services. And I do just want to call out that our partners at SCE have voluntarily lowered that to a $250,000 threshold. So hopefully we'll see that adopted by other partners in the utilities space. President Batcher, thank you so very much. We appreciate you taking time, sharing some of your wisdom and thoughts on certification and on LGBTBE inclusion. We appreciate it. We appreciate everything you and the commission do, and we look forward to working with you for many years to come. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. It was my absolute pleasure and delight to be with you this morning. And I know that my dear colleague Stephanie will be along next or soon to do even a deeper dive. I think she's our expert. So again, honored to be with you today, and thank you for all that you do. So appreciate it very much. Have a wonderful day of learning and sharing, and thank you again for the honor.
Thank you. Sabrina, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, Justin and President Batcher, for that amazing and insightful and informative conversation. As I mentioned at the outset, for those who may have joined, today starts the dialogue that is going to be a continual journey. As Justin mentioned, NGLCC is investing in human capital on the ground to continue to focus in on these issues and really develop our work along with the CPUC. But now to talk a little bit about those challenges and roadblocks, we have an exciting panel of certified businesses coming up here in just a moment. And I want to encourage you all to keep utilizing the chat. Also, please utilize the Q&A function here on Zoom during the next segment. We'll have some time for you to ask questions of our panelists. These are businesses that have been on the ground, that have worked with these utility companies, and are really here to provide their firsthand knowledge and resources and expertise to you as fellow LGBT businesses or corporations in the room as to how to work with our utility companies. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our incredible moderator for this session, Zaylor Stout. He's the principal of Zaylor Stout and Associates. He's also the author of Our Gay History in 50 States, and he's a California native and a very close friend. So I'm really excited, Zaylor, for what you have next, and I'll turn it over to you to kick things off.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm honored to not only serve as the moderator for this next segment, but also as a participant, an LGBTBE that's doing business in California with some amazing others. And so I want to make sure that I welcome our three other panelists on to the stage. So time to turn on those cameras and mics so you can join me. So we have Sandra, we have Jarrett, and we have Tasha. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to be with all three of you, and I've had an opportunity to connect with you and get some of your personal story. And I know where all the bodies are buried, so we're going to be talking about it today. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, let's start off with the first question, and I'll lead off with that. You know, so I know that Sabrina provided my name and my pronouns. I use he, him pronouns, so we're going to give our names, pronouns, our business, what geographic area it is that we do, that we provide client services to clients. And so I'll start off with that again. Zaylor Stout, author of Our Gay History in 50 States, founder of Zaylor Stout and Associates, an employment law firm with locations in both Pasadena, California, as well as Minneapolis, Minnesota. We focus on defending employers in regards to discrimination, sexual harassment, wrongful termination, and wage and hour matters. I'll get into some of the pre-litigation work that we do in a little bit as we move on with our other questions. But since we're attorneys, we're licensed in the state of California and Minneapolis, but with our pre-litigation work, we're able to help clients all across the country. So Tasha, why don't you jump in next and share your information with us? Do we have Tasha there? We'll switch to Sabrina and we'll get Tasha next.
Hey, Tasha, you're on
No,
mute.
I'm here. I'm sorry.
Oh, there you are. Yay, perfect.
Hey, everybody, how you doing?
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
No,
Well, I'm going to go ahead and jump into it. I am Tasha Reed, president and founder of Visionary Construction, DBA Visionary Services. Visionary was formed in 2010. And we have been in business now 11 years. We do a lot of work in the federal space, and we do a lot of work actually out in California. We hold a POCA contract. I don't know if people are familiar with that, but it's a multi-year construction contract with the Army Corps Engineers. So that's a little bit about our company. We do have we've worked with the NGLCC as well. We have been nominated as Small Business of the Year through AGLCC here in Atlanta, Georgia. So I am grateful to be on this panel, to be able to answer some of your questions and just get some dialogue going. And also I go by she or her. So I think that's it on my end.
Perfect, perfect. Welcome, Tasha. And for those that don't know, Tasha was invited to the White House and got to meet President Obama during one of their Pride celebrations. So one day I hope I get to go to the Pride celebration in the White House like you did.
Yes. And let me tell you, ain't no party like a White House party, okay?
Sandra, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Sandra Escalante. I'm president and CEO of Lehner Electric Supply here in Northern California. We are a supply distributor to most small and mid-sized contractors, municipalities, utilities, and I'm a proud member of the GGBA and a founder and officer of Build Out California. We're a construction industry group, primarily focused for the LGBT community and our allies. There's just a lot of going on here in California. Thank you to President Badger and to Justin for putting this together, because I think that once this goal is in place and once everything gets going, it's going to be fantastic for all businesses nationwide.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm gonna have a question regarding that Build Out California. I'm gonna ask you a question about that one later, because I think it's an amazing, amazing thing that you're doing there. Jared, what about you? You're next.
Hi, my name is Jarrett Parra. My husband and I own and operate our company, AAA Mobile Solutions. We've been in business since early 2014. Our company provides emergency base camps and base camp equipment to the federal government, utility, and private sectors. Our business employs roughly 20 full-time employees and about 100 part-time employees. We respond to wildland fires across the West Coast, hurricanes in the Gulf, and most recently we've been providing logistical support for COVID-19 field hospitals and mass vaccination sites. Our company is headquartered in Visalia, California, and we provide services nationwide.
Thank you so much for everything that you do, Jared. I mean, your business is there to help, Americans and anybody that's here during, some of our more trying times when we have some of these natural disasters that are happening. So really appreciate your business being here. We're all LGBTBE, so I love that. So let's get on to the next question in regards to leverage, right? So how is it that you're each individually leveraging either your LGBTBE certification or any other certification to help your business grow? So we'll go in reverse order. Jared, we'll start with you first.
So the only diverse certification I hold is the LGBTBE certification. And in our type of industry, the California utilities are the only client base where our certification is really considered. We've worked really hard to establish a great company with reputable service. We combine our reputation, past performance, and abilities with our certification when marketing ourselves to our utility clients. And we hope that when competing for a job against another great company like ours, we hope that our certification might set us apart and might be an incentive for the utility to choose us over competitors. We really think that once a goal is set and established, this is going to be much more of a relevant incentive.
No, that's very true. I mean, where California goes the rest of the country. I mean, I can see that happen from the legal perspective, but in all other areas as well. And so, California is not the only state that has these natural disasters happening. I mean, you talk about the hurricanes on the Gulf Coast and the like. And so, there's missed opportunities for utilities and other businesses to be able to capture this diverse spend. So definitely encouraging those that are on board here and not in California to take this information back to your locations, whether it be your cities, your states, and encourage the inclusion of LGBT certified businesses. Next, Sandra, how about you? How are you leveraging your certification?
Well, which one? So I'm certified as I'm a woman, minority, small business, but I'm very proud of the fact that my LGBTBE certification was the very first certification that I obtained when I purchased 51% of an ongoing concern. Laner Electric Supply has been around since 1984, but I went to the NGLCC to Jonathan and got my certification, and then went through the GGBA, our local chamber here, the Golden Gate Business Association. And, it was fantastic. It's been fantastic. Paul Pendergast over at the GGBA and both Justin and Jonathan with the NGLCC has really propelled our business and allowing us to have the exposure, so that we can just not be invited to sit at the table, but to really have the opportunity to participate. And in 2015 or 2016, I apologize, I was given an award by the GGBA for having received the largest public works contract in San Francisco.
Wow.
$40 million contract with the SFMTA. So it's a lot of work. I'm still on it. In fact, this month is in my 6th year and we're about to end the project, but it's there. And I took that on to prove that a small company like ours, once given the opportunity, we can deliver and that we can produce. And I'm sure that Tasha and Jared will attest to that.
I mean, it's important to be included. It's important to be at the table. It's important to get the invitation to the party, right? I mean, you can't be there. You can't participate. You can't, be part of the procurement process if they don't know that your business is there. And so it's important for these certifications and for the certifying bodies and agencies to be able to have that connection. I know that, whenever there's folks looking for LGBT certified businesses, NGLCC should be the first place that they go to, and they can connect them with the local chambers and find those businesses that can assist them in regard to that particular area. And I know that there are companies and municipalities that do reach out and make that happen. So it's a resource that's free and that's available to you. So you need to make sure that you take advantage of it. Tasha, how about you? How are you leveraging your certification?
Well, I am leveraging my certification. So like Sandra, I have I have my minority certification, which is an 8A certification through the federal government. I do a lot of federal work. So probably 80% of my work is federal. And then I have my woman-owned certification, and then I had the LGBT certification as well. The one I have leveraged the most is the 8A certification, which is the minority certification through the federal government. That one I have leveraged the most because that's the space I primarily work in. But I do want to leverage my LGBT certification even more. I think that it's very important that we do have that diversity, just not at the city and state, local, and other agencies, but at the federal level as well. We really need that certification at the federal level because, like I said, I've been able to leverage the minority-owned and the woman-owned, but not the LGBT. So unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity yet, but I'm looking forward to it, to leveraging my LGBT certification, because if I can make it in the federal space for what I have done thus far, I just know that we can just definitely do some work outside with the LGBT certification as well.
Well, I know Justin was on a call with the White House earlier today, and I know that he's been pushing this since before I was even certified. So I know that Justin's working on this on the federal level, and fingers crossed we're going to have something happen sooner rather than later. But then I know Jonathan Lovitz is also working on the state and local level in regards to getting cities and municipalities to include LGBT certification in their supplier diversity processes. For me, I have multiple certifications as well: LGBT certification, disabled-owned business certification, as well as the minority. And the way that I've been able to leverage it is in regards to the pre-litigation work. So, we're a boutique law firm. We're on the smaller side, so we're not going to be able to get a big contract litigating something for Target or something. So what we've done is focused on workplace investigation. And in that space and in that area, we're able to quickly be able to get in and be able to assist our clients in regards to those pressing, timely issues that come up in regards to issues and concerns regarding, racial discrimination, LGBT discrimination, or disability discrimination. And so our clients have found value in our certifications, because if you have an employee that comes forward with any of these types of complaints, who better than to have a firm that's certified in that particular area that can really get the employee to really, be honest in regards to everything that's going on in regards to their workplace, and be able to empathize with them in regards to what they're going through, but somebody that also has that same exact identity as them, and hopefully get to the end of get to the root of the problem and find some resolution as it relates to it. So we've really been able to use that as our sweet spot, really to get into some of the master contracts with municipalities, as well as with some of the larger companies. So again, different ways to be creative in regards to leveraging those certifications. But the next question I want to make sure I get into, because you're all national players, which is amazing and great. So, in regards to your companies working in the utility space, what's one piece of advice that you would give to business owners that are looking to get into this kind of work? So you can talk about any tips that you have. You talk about any challenges or roadblocks that you may have experienced, any success stories. You can get into whatever you want to get into. So we'll start off with Sandra, then we'll do Tasha, then Jared last.
Well, I've been very fortunate that Alejandro Cerruto with PG&E has been very supportive with trying to onboard us. I mean, through the efforts of Angel Lance of Build Out California, she was able to leverage her relationship. She has a 15-year track record with PG&E, and she was able to leverage that relationship to bringing me onto PG&E's radar, especially in preparation for this goal. So, Alejandro Cerruto, Janet Browning, and Jeff Montana, who are the sourcing directors for PG&E, we go on a 1-hour call every month to mentor me, to onboard me, to make sure that I'm meeting all of their primes and their subs, and just to get us ready. And in addition, they've also connected me with one of their prime suppliers, One Source Supply Solution and MROIS. So I'm having meetings with her as well, which she's also committed to mentoring me. And I think that's very important. It's very important for the utilities to really make a conscious sincere effort in helping the smaller diverse suppliers. If that's done, I think it'll be very successful for all of us. And we're not just, logging on to the, what I call the black hole or the portals from hell, where you sign on and you don't know what's happening. But
Right.
that's my advice. It's actually my advice to the utilities and to the agencies. My advice to my fellow LGBTBEs is be persistent. Have the tenacity and the resilience to keep going. And once given that opportunity, please perform 150%. That's
Right.
the most important thing, because we only get one chance.
Right, right. Because sadly, we are representative of our population. And if we get in, we're the first ones in the door, we don't perform the standard, they're going to say, see, why are we using these minority-owned businesses? They're never able to perform. And it's sad that we, as members of minority population, always have to be representatives of our group, right? And so, it's super important that you're actually performing this standard.
It's a wonderful opportunity, Zaylor, but it's also a responsibility.
True. Absolutely. Absolutely. Tasha, how about you?
So I just want to take this moment to encourage a lot of LGBT businesses out there as well. I know it can be tough. This journey has been a journey for me. It has been full of ups and downs, but it has been so rewarding. And it's times that I definitely wanted to give up. But that's a thing of coupling your faith and your business together. That's one thing I'm a big advocate of is my faith and business, coupling it together and going out there and doing the faith and the work. So God will definitely provide avenues and ways for you doors to open for you till you can get those opportunities. And it's really a lot of people out there who really want to help. You'll be surprised. It's just about the connections and the relationship building. You just got to stay faithful through the process, and the doors will open, things will line up, and before you know it, you'll be on your way. And then when those obstacles do come, there will be people that help you get through those as well. I definitely want to just tell the LGBT companies out there that are doing well to reach back. The minority companies reach back, because when we do get these opportunities and we do well, don't forget where you come from. I think that is so important, that sometimes we get to making money and we get tied into our businesses that we forget about where we once were. So I just want to encourage, those businesses out there to, foster those relationships, relationships over money any day for me. I always say that in my company. People's like, because you can always get more money. Relationships are very intangible.
Absolutely. It's definitely a marathon and not a race. I mean, I know all of you have had to put in so much time, effort, and energy in regards to building those relationships with those, potential corporate partners or those utilities and all of that. You're not going to meet them one day and get a contract the next day. That's normally not how it works, right? You have to build build that rapport. It's all based on relationships. They do business with people that they like, and
yes,
and then the rest comes, because there's lots of people out there that have the skill set to be able to get the job done. And so it's just differentiating, why you, right? Why you? Perfect. Jerry, what about you?
Well, I think it's really important to be ready. Make sure you and your company are ready before you pursue the utilities. The utilities are highly organized and they have really high expectations. And aside from LGBTB businesses, everybody wants to do business with the utility. So the competition is very fierce. I just think that it's super important to be ready before you pursue the utility and have a really good plan. As Sandra said, you only get one chance, in my opinion, because there's a line of people behind you that want that work.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, get certified. Getting certified is important. There's so many businesses I know that are out there that don't even know, that there's the certification available for LGBT businesses, let alone any of the other supplier diversity certifications that are out there. And so getting certified is important, number one. Number two, for your businesses, you can't be the jack of all trades, right? You need to find out what you're really good at, and you need to make sure that you customize that capability statement to that specific need, that especially if it's a larger client. So for me, for example, again, a smaller firm, and so keep, customizing my capability statement to focus on the workplace investigations with, larger enterprises and larger entities is where I'm able to really be able to get in and make a difference. And so it's finding whatever that skill set is that you have and making sure that you have different capability statements for different things in different industries, right? You have to be able to have it customized. You can't be the jack of all trades. That would be the tip that I would give folks in regards to, setting yourself apart and emerging in regards to some of this work. Because it can be hard to find out some information, right? They tell you, do your research on the business. And it's like, sometimes it's hard to even find that information. If you're not selling a widget or something to that effect, especially if it's something that's service oriented or service focused. Did you have something to throw in on there on that one, Sandra?
No, it's very important. Also, because you are a member of different chambers, once you sign up for that membership, participate.
Yeah.
The chambers can only help you if you're there showing up and being a part of it. And we all do our part. I told you, Sailor, the other night that I also serve on 4 different boards, here in California. That's my corporate social responsibility. That's my advocacy for the LGBT, the women and minority-owned community. I sit on the Small Business Advisory Council for Caltrans, for BART, for the Department of General Services, and the University of California. And then for our industry group, Build Out California. So I keep busy, but it's important. I want to make sure the way is paid for other LGBT entrepreneurs. And, I get calls all the time for small businesses or for people who wanting to start their own business on how to go about it. Which certification should they pursue? Because that's expensive and it's time consuming.
It's important to reach back and to be able to provide that additional support to everybody else. So as we are, certified businesses, we always have to think about, are we using certified suppliers as well, right? And so that's important for us to be able to pay back from that perspective. Next question we have is, I guess the advice in regards to the utilities, right? So what advice do you have to utilities and third-party advocacy organizations like the NGLCC to help you in regards to your quest to be able to build your business? So let's see, Sandra, this is Tasha. We'll start with you this time, and then we'll go to Jared, and then I'll jump in, and then Sandra will close it out for that question.
Yeah. What my advice would be is definitely to engage more and just definitely given the opportunities. Sometimes we just take and give just what is the minimum sometimes for these certifications and say we met our quota. It's not just about meeting a quota, it's about opening doors and making ways for people that are just not having those opportunities just because of their LGBT status or being minority, whatever it may be, or being a woman-owned business. Don't just make us a number. Let's make a difference. That's what I want to say. Let's not make a number, let's make a difference. And making a difference is really taking and being thoughtful in that process of how you're selecting these companies and the doors that you're opening, the opportunities that you're giving them, not just giving them a little piece, but giving them a large share of some of those opportunities is out there. Don't just give me $100,000 project, give me $1 million project and see what I can do.
Right. Don't presume that you can't perform based on your minority certifications, right? You have the ability to provide, and you need to be able to, be able to prove them wrong if they have the belief you might not necessarily be able to perform. How about you, Jared? What do you think? What advice do you have for utilities or third-party advocacy organizations?
So I don't have any specific advice for the utilities, but more so encouragement. Great progress is being made with utility clients, and I definitely look forward to similar progression in government contracting, especially federal government contracting. And I definitely look forward to a goal being set for LGBTBE spend with the CPUC. I think that's going to open the door wide open for us.
Absolutely. Sandra, how about you?
Oh, I'm a proponent of that goal, Jarrett. I mean, a 1.5% goal right alongside the DVBEs, I think will be a fantastic opportunity, not just for Californians, but also for other LGBTBEs in the nation. I mean, I've already given my advice to the utilities, really, reach out, make that effort. And as far as participating, we're here. Jarrett, Tasha, and I are participating here when Justin asked me to be here. As much as I have a fear in public speaking, I had to show up. I had to be here for this because it's important for all of us. And it's important that when they reach out to make that effort, that we respond. So,
Well, it's important for other, LGBTBEs to see, the true diversity that we have in our community represented here in regards to this dialogue and this discussion. So I think that's definitely essential and important. So thank you all for being here. Some insight that I have, I guess, in regard to this is NGLCC, keep doing the great work that you're doing in regards to getting additional cities and states on board, getting LGBT businesses approved in the supplier diversity programs. Because I know all of you know other LGBT businesses that are on the smaller side that aren't going to be able to get those big contracts, but their ability to be able to get a 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 contract with a city, a county, or the state can make all the difference, right? And then these are the businesses that are going to be hiring folks from members of within their community, right? Black-owned business is going to have more contacts and more connections with individuals in the Black community. LGBT businesses, same thing. Women-owned businesses, especially in industries that are male-dominated, are going to know other women to be able to get them into those industries. And so the more money that we're able to get into our pockets means that we're going to be able to provide that additional opportunity and that additional work for folks like us within our community. And so one thing that I encourage the utilities to take a look at is that 1.5 enough for minority-owned businesses? Is that 1.5 enough for LGBT-owned businesses? Is that 1.5 enough for women, right? And if you look at, demographic information, I know in California, for example, there's more than 1.5% of minorities in the state. So, let's push the envelope a little bit. It's great to get it open and get things going, but we can definitely do a lot better in regard to that because the businesses are out there, right? The businesses are out there. And so there's opportunities there. The other thing I want to make sure that I throw out is that there's procurement officers should be strategic in regards to the bidding process as well. So don't just throw out the $1 million project. Right? You can have a giant project, which means only the big players are going to be able to be involved and be able to participate in that. Here in Minnesota, there was a particular contract where instead of having it be one big project, they broke it up into 6 pieces. And so you have 6 opportunities for 6 different firms to be able to get a piece of that business. And then instead of making it where you put a good faith effort, where Sandra, I'm going to steal it from you. We talked about the other day, a good faith effort in regards to good fake effort in regards to getting work with minority-owned firms. They're actually requiring it. So what ended up happening was there's only 3 law firms that are that are DBE certified here in the state of Minnesota. And so I ended up having these firms reaching out to me saying, hey, we want to partner with you on this RFP because we're not going to be able to get it unless we show that we're partnered to do this work with a minority firm. And so that's a way to be able to get additional business, additional law firms, additional businesses like yours into areas that may not necessarily have that high percentage of minority representation. So it's about that creative thinking. Yes, it's going to take a little bit more work on your part from the procurement office to have to vet, and do 6 different chunks on a particular project instead of one big chunk. But what is your ultimate goal? Is your goal to increase diversity in this area or not? And if you are, then you need to put your money where your mouth is and make it happen. So moving on to the next question. I know you're all passionate, not only about the work that you're doing, but also, the work that your personal aspects and the work that you're doing outside of work. So question for you is, you bring your passion of inclusion to your work personally, and how is it that you connect your personal and company DEI values in creating that differentiator for potential contracting partners? So Sandra, we'll start with you on this one.
Well, my personal and my work is commingled. I mean, again, as I said, personally, I volunteer a lot of my time to make sure that our advocacy is in place. And it's really a conscious effort, Sailor. I mean, there's just a lot to be done. There's a lot of companies out there. There's a lot of education that needs to happen in the construction space. I'm sure Tasha can attest to the fact that LGBT minorities, women at all, being a woman minority and then being coming from the LGBT orientation, that's difficult. I live in a white male dominated world. And to be taken seriously. Most of the time when I show up at meetings, they're thinking, why is admin here? You know, what are they, right? What is admin doing here? They won't even think I'm a laborer. They just think point blank, I'm admin. And those are the challenges that we face day in and day out, but we're resilient. We're going to be here. We're going to be here for the future generations. And, you know, we're going to make ourselves count. You know, what is it that Justin said? There's about $3 trillion worth of economic empowerment from the LGBT community. We need to be counted.
We need to be counted. And the sad part is that we've been intentionally excluded, right? You think about the census, we won't know the numbers in regards to LGBT folks nationally because we're not included in the census, so we won't know for another 10 years. And then in disparity studies in states, the LGBT businesses have also been excluded. So again, this is a push for making sure that we're included. We can't be included in the disparity study unless you choose to include us. So please include us, right? It makes all the difference. How about you, Jared? What about that personal company DEI, differentiator that you have?
So being a member of the LGBTQ community, I understand the importance of acceptance and feeling accepted. And I understand the importance of fostering a great work environment where everyone is accepted and treated equal. This culture is very uplifting of our team members, and it positively is reflected in the quality of our service. And our clients recognize that. Our clients recognize the culture of our company, and it's definitely a positive environment.
I mean, when you come from a marginalized community, you're hopefully less likely to marginalize others, right? And so there's just an additional, lens on ensuring access and equality for others. So thank you so much for doing that, Jared, and hopefully leading by example in your industry. Tasha, what about you?
So some of the things that I do, because being in the federal space, teaming, joint ventures, those type of things are very encouraged in the federal space. So what I do a lot is partnering with minority companies or LGBT companies that don't have the ability to go after opportunities, and leveraging what I might have and coming together to win opportunities. So I'm helping open doors that way. And then, as my company is growing and I'm able to employ people, looking at that diversity of employment and giving the opportunities to people that they would never be considered for. Especially like you saying, being a woman in construction. Oh my God, I've shown up to the site and, with one of my Caucasian brothers, and they saying, can I, they thinking they're the owner of the company and I'm the owner, but it's just automatically assumed that I'm just the worker of the company. And it's so interesting for it being 2021, to be honest. But it also shows that we have a lot more work to do and a lot more things to do in order to get more inclusion when it comes to the federal space and any space of work that we're working in.
Hopefully the goal is for us to not be the only ones in the room, right? There's just too many times where I'm the only, person of color that's an attorney in the room. More often than not, I'm the only attorney in the room, which is always weird to me. It's like, why aren't there more attorneys here? There's lots of business available. But then to only be the only person of color in the room, right? That's it's interesting. We shouldn't be the only ones. And I know that you're all working in regards to making sure that there's additional diverse folks that are coming in the door behind you. And that you're not slamming the door behind you and saying, I've got mine and leaving everybody else behind. And Tasha, I love the fact that the additional work that you're doing on your end in regards to helping, churches get the ability to be able to own their property. I love that discussion that we had in regards to that. But there's always, I think people like hearing about those aspects as well. What makes you you? What are you working on outside of your job? For me, as Sabrina indicated in the beginning, I'm an author. So I authored a book, Our Gay History in 50 States. And Southern California Edison, the sponsor for today's event, actually ended up sponsoring my book for the state of California. So they purchased 300 copies that are going to be donated to LGBT nonprofits that are working with queer youth across the country, across the state. And so, they're putting their money where their mouth is as it relates to that, providing that historical context that queer kids just don't have, right? Because I know Tasha and Sandra can attest to this with me. Our cultural history isn't something that's taught in schools. right? So we had the ability to be able to learn that cultural history at home. But LGBT kids, how many queer kids are raised in queer homes? There's not many. So then, you know, they don't necessarily know that they come from a long line of individuals that have contributed significantly to our country's history. So thank you to Southern California Edison for that. Thank you, NGLCC, you know, for uplifting my story. I mean, they were there when my book idea was just an idea before I even wrote it. And they provided me with the opportunity to get in front of corporations to be able to pitch to them the opportunity to be able to sponsor the book. So with that, I have once, and as I see Sabrina jumping in, one more, a point of moderator privilege. I have one quick question that I want to ask, because I know that we already got information out from Tasha and Sandra in regard to the fact that your LGBT certification was the first one that you received. You know, I guess my question is, why was the LGBT certification the first one? Because I think the concept of the fact that we have intersectional identities, people will look at you and say, well, you have the ability to be able to get a minority certification, or you have the ability to be able to get a woman certification. Why was the LGBT certification the one that you got first? Because I think that's an important question that municipalities and states are looking at and considering when they're trying to decide whether to include LGBT businesses in their supplier diversity programs. So Sandra, we'll go with you first.
Why was it the first one? Well, primarily it was the advice of David Feldman from Chevron. He said, you know, why don't you check, at that time it was the National Gay Lesbian Chamber of Commerce. And I go, what? And he says, yes, you can get that certification. Forget the NMSDC certification for now, where we ban, go for that. And when you think about it, you'll probably be the only LGBT certified distributor in the nation. And I still am today. I'm the only one in the electrical distributor space. So I'm very proud of that. I really want to have that certificate make a difference. I want to be able to say I'm getting all these contracts because of my LGBT certification. Not because I'm small business, not because I'm woman-owned, not because I'm minority-owned. I want to say I'm leveraging that certification and that it's made me successful. That's my end goal.
All right, Tasha, how about you?
You know what? Same sentiments as well. You know, I have like I said, the 8A certification with the federal government. That certification was just a tool in my tool belt, right? So it gave me access to opportunities. I had to use the tool to do the work, right? So I was able to produce a company that was a six-figure company to a multi-million-dollar company now. And all I'm asking for the NGLCC and with my certification to give me the same opportunity that I had with that one and open some doors for me. Believe me, the millions that I made through that, just that certification, I can definitely make millions through that one as well. So I look forward to the opportunity and showing you what we got.
And Jared, the benefit for getting federal certification, well, how could that benefit you and your business?
You know, there's a lot of federal contracts that we go after, and there's always a set aside for 8A or woman-owned business or disabled vet. And I just think that there's a lot more, several more contracts that we would be able to go after or have a little bit carved out for us if we were recognized on the national platform. And I'm really hoping with this new administration and our vice president, who is from California, California has done a lot more than any other state, I feel, in the nation as far as diverse business goes. And I'm just hoping that the new administration can really do something for us on the national platform.
And I just want to piggyback off of that. I want to say California is such a great state when it comes to diversity. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. My company is based out of Atlanta, Georgia. And literally for the last 2-3 years, I've been getting on the plane before the pandemic, like every other month going to California, and have built a great book of business in California just because of the diversity and the willingness to people to open doors and help create more opportunities for my company. So I definitely agree with the California market. I love it there. I love their openness to the LGBT community and just minorities in overall.
Awesome. one thing I'm going to add on this, Sabrina, and then I'll turn it over to you. For me, my first certification that I received was the LGBT certification. Number one, because it was a certification that you only had to redo every 3 years. So instead of NMSDC, where I have to do it every single year, you can do one for 3 years. And there's costs associated with all of that. The other aspect is, you know, where is it that you feel the most comfortable, right? And LGBT folks aren't always necessarily welcome in minority spaces. And, you know, women with LGBT women aren't always welcome in women's spaces. So this is an area where we can feel comfortable, we can bring our full, true, authentic selves. And so why shouldn't that be a certification that we should be able to have and use in regards to our supplier diversity efforts? So thank you so much for that. And Sabrina, I'll turn it over to you for some of the Q&A.
Thank you so much to you, Zaylor, and to your fantastic panel here for sharing all of your insights. We have time for just one or two questions. And something that I think is really important is first to say, you know, we've been getting a lot of love here as NGLCC today. So many great comments about NGLCC, but we really could not do this without the amazing leadership and strong and engaged support and work of our affiliate chambers across the US, but particularly in California with the LA LGBT Chamber, Long Beach LGBT Chamber, the Desert Business Association, Sacramento Rainbow Chamber, GGBA in San Francisco, the Rainbow Chamber in Silicon Valley, and the San Diego Business Equality Association. I mean, all of these chambers work so hard, and California is such a behemoth. Jarrett, I love that you're repping Visalia. My family's from Visalia, so I know it well, but most people don't, and it just shows the breadth of where our LGBT business community is in this great state. So I want to jump in quickly with just a couple questions. And Jarrett, this one's for you because you mentioned this, and I think your co-panelists also jumped in on it as well, which is, you know, if you're the first, don't mess this up for the rest of us, right? You've got to be the best. So what are 2 to 3 tips that you have for business owners that to ensure quality, to ensure that they are meeting the demands of that contract and sort of helping to open those doors and pave the way for other LGBTBEs in this space?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't necessarily know how to answer that question. I just think it's super important to really be hands-on and manage your business and you know, have control of the direction that your company's going to go in and follow it through. I've heard people say, I'm going to get my business certified so I can get more business. I don't think that certifications get you your business. Your business, your reputation, your quality of service, your ability to perform is what gets you your business. If you get your certification, that'll help you open doors and meet new people and open up new opportunities for you. But you better have it together as far as your quality of service goes.
Absolutely, Jarrett. I think quality is there, and in these spaces, safety is so important, right? Not putting these utilities companies in a position of risk, I think is so important as well. And I know Z as an attorney would agree with that, mitigating risk. And Z and fellow panelists, I want to ask another question here before we jump to our next panel. And first of all, I got to say this chat is blowing up. This is awesome. Make sure you're sending your messages to both panelists and attendees. I'm seeing a lot of great collaborations developing here inside the chat box. And I got to say, Tasha, you're already making connections here with other LGBTBEs, which is great. So we're definitely encouraging that. So make sure you're setting your chat feature to panelists and attendees as you're responding here in the chat. But the final question I have for you all as panelists, and Z, you touched on this a bit, is about writing capability statements. And this is something we get a lot, right? A lot of business owners are unfamiliar with capability statements. A lot of business owners are like, I've got an idea, I'm going to make it happen. Some of them don't even have business plans, but a lot of them do. But capability statements are so important. And how do you write a strong capability statement, and how do you leverage that in a supplier diversity relationship? So feel free, anyone, to respond to that.
Yeah, so this is Tasha. I'm jumping in because we use capability statements all the time in the federal space. I enjoy putting capability statements together. I actually have someone on my team. If you guys want to reach out to me who does capability statements that can help you with yours, I'm definitely willing to help with that. But that is just like your resume for the federal space or any other space that you might be going into. And it shows your work performed, when, where, and sometimes even the dollar value and what your company will bring to the table that could help that agency or whoever your potential client could be.
Absolutely. Does anyone want to add to that?
No, it's very important. I remember the very first time somebody asked me for a capability statement, I stared them in the face and go, "A what?" So, yeah, it's it's very important, and thank God, at that time the GGBA or Paul with the GGBA came to my rescue and said, I'll put one together for you. So this is what it entails, and it's very important. It's very important, and I remember an advice from Lisa Castillo with AT&T. She goes, "You have to have more than one. It can't. You have to have one for corporate, one for municipalities, one for government. It can't just be one capability statement. You have to have multiple statements, like Zaylor mentioned earlier. So that's important."
Absolutely. And ideally, sorry, what was that, Z?
No, I said I think they took care of it. I mean, it's your resume. And
yes, they did. We've got some experts here.
Wait,
and ideally 1 page, max 2 pages on the capability statement. And when you meet a supplier diversity professional, make sure, you follow up with them over email. Even if you brought it in hard copy, say it was such a pleasure to meet with you. I also wanted to, again, reshare my capability statement. Hope that we can connect in the future. And Z, I'm going to let you have the last word here before we move on to our next panel.
Absolutely. And make sure you're in contact with your local chambers. I know several of us are in leadership with our LGBT chambers. That's where you're going to be able to get those resources from. Because I remember going to my first conference and not knowing what a capability statement was either, and learning from my colleagues. We're all there to help each other, and so allow us to help you.
Thanks for that, Z. And Jonathan Levitz from Team NGLCC just dropped in a webinar writing capability statements that we just did with the NGLCC Federal Task Force recently. So make sure you check that out. And I want to say a big thank you to Zaylor, Sandra, Jarrett, and Tasha, our phenomenal panel today. Y'all were excellent. Don't forget to stick around, folks. After this next panel and our closing, we are having an interactive networking session. So I see y'all are super active here in the chat. We are going to have time to sit down one-on-one, face-to-face, and have some really great conversations building on the energy of today's program. So again, a big thank you to our panelists. I'm going to ask Lauren Schweppe from Team NGLCC to drop in our networking link so folks can have that queued up. You should have that in your email as well, but Lauren's dropped that in here on the chat, keeping us on time and ready to go as she does. So with that, it is my pleasure to introduce our final panel of the day, moderated by my colleague, dear friend, Jonathan Levitz, Senior Vice President at NGLCC. Jonathan, welcome.
Hey, Sabrina, fantastic job. And thanks to all the fantastic panelists and speakers, President Batcher, all the great comments. Trying to keep up with the chat feed here has been so exciting. There is so much connecting happening. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this next conversation with 3 phenomenal speakers who talk about, beyond the layers of government support and supplier perspectives that you've heard. We're going to talk about the broader ecosystem of how we work together as corporations, as chambers, as support organizations to further strengthen everyone's ability to find success and amplify one another's success. So join me, we'll advance the slide so you can see who we're talking with today, and join me in welcoming our extraordinary panelists today from Southern California Edison, a friend to everyone in the supplier diversity space, Terrence Frierson. Please also welcome Michaela Mendelson from Trans Can Work, an extraordinary nonprofit organization doing great work that you'll learn all about, and a dear friend to so many of us in California and throughout the organization, Marquita Thomas, the Executive Director of the LA LGBT Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to all 3 of you. Let's get your cameras and videos on, cameras and audio on so we can have a chat. There we are. I see you. It's great to have you with us. Thanks so much for spending your time and sharing all of your wonderful insights. As I was mentioning before, this is about the next sort of level up of working in this extraordinary supplier ecosystem, about how we bring all of our resources to bear to as we always say, that a rising tide lifts all boats, but how we can make our boats bigger and stronger by making them more inclusive, and our sails pulled a little bit more tight by making sure all of our resources are shared with one another. So I'm going to kick this off by just quickly asking each of you to let us know a little bit about yourself and your background, so we can better understand the great contributions you make to our conversation. So let's start with Terrence. Terrence, who are you? Welcome to the conversation.
Who am I? First of all, thank you to the NGLCC and all the affiliate partners, to all the panelists and everyone participating, and just really joining in today's conversation. Southern California Edison, as Joycelyn mentioned earlier, is proud to partner with the NGLCC and several of the local affiliated chapters to really continue to advocate for the inclusion, the utilization and development of LGBT-owned businesses. I lead the Supplier Diversity and Development Department at Southern California Edison. I have 8 passionate professionals on my team. I'm so fortunate because these people work hard every day to really drive for inclusion and the utilization of diverse business enterprises into our supply chain. And so we're really looking forward to, or I'm looking forward to participating in this conversation. And thank you for the opportunity.
Great to have you with us, and thank you. Marquita, you so rarely need an introduction. You have your hand in everything happening in California, but please let us know a little bit about yourself on the line.
Sure. First, I want to also thank the NGLCC for having me be a part of this conversation. Individually, I'm very proud to be here, and the LAGLCC as a whole is very, very proud to be a part of this conversation. I am the executive director of the Los Angeles LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I've been with the organization for 12 years now, and I oversee the daily operations of the organization.
And we're so glad to have you with us. You do so much more than that, so don't you dare sell yourself short, but we'll come back to that.
Okay.
And Michaela, thank you so much for being with us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization.
Hi, Jonathan. Well, I am a business owner. I own a chain of restaurants in Southern California. And that's where the work started of inclusion that got me inspired to start Transcan Work. Transcan Work is a national organization that works to improve conditions for diversity of transgender and non-binary individuals in the workplace, and not only create space, inclusive space, but also help companies work. We work directly with companies to help them diversify, because we represent thousands of transgender job seekers who are looking for work. And we're very happy to be here today, and I thank the NGLCC for this opportunity.
Well, we're happy to have you, and thank you, certainly on behalf of our TGNC task force and all of the extraordinary folks who you inspire and help make things better for. We appreciate your work and that of all of your colleagues. And we're going to talk about all the ways that we can help support one another through that work ahead. But I'm going to start with you, Terrence. SCE was among the partners that literally helped write the book on LGBTBE inclusion in the public sector when SCE collaborated with NGLCC, our extraordinary affiliates, our suppliers, and other leaders in California when it became the first municipality to include LGBTBEs through the CPUC. So talk to us a little bit about being, in the room where it happens and setting these precedents and what it means now to help, as Justin mentioned earlier, we're setting the first goal in the country here. We're also blazing a path forward through now our 25th municipal win just a few weeks ago in Houston towards full federal inclusion. So what does this ecosystem look like, not just for utilities like yours, but for the broader supplier universe we work in?
Jonathan, so last year it was a milestone birthday for me. So I turned 50, and so you were really challenging my memory. But I was reflecting back on when this legislation effort started with AB 1678. I actually was on the supplier diversity team, and I was responsible for the LGBT category. And as I I think about that journey that we were on, some things really stood out for me in that. And I'm really glad and proud to see that so many other public sectors are following California lead. In that journey, advocacy and inclusion really came through. And I talk about that, I'm talking inclusion in terms of the number of diverse stakeholders that join in to support this effort to make sure that LGBT spin category was established in General Order 156. So it wasn't just the LGBT advocacy organizations, some of the utilities, Southern California Edison was one of the early supporters, some of the other members of our joint utilities group here in California, the local chambers, other ally organizations, legislators. So it really warmed my heart to see that folks were doing, we had a diverse group of people that were advocating for this inclusion. It also took me back to think about, for us, that the journey, it really began long before the Southern California Edison, the journey began long before the legislation. You know, I remember our president at the time saying to us that, you know, we don't have to wait on legislation to lead or to be inclusive or to do the right thing. And so, you know, I took that as the charge to say, okay, well, I'm not going to wait. And in 2012, we proactively reached out to the NGLCC and our local affiliates and began to establish meaningful partnerships around how we could collaborate, how we could partner to really advance opportunities for the LGBT community. And I can tell you, just over the last several years, it has just been amazing to see the growth in those partnerships, to see some of the growth that we've had in the space. But there is more work to do, and I'm going to acknowledge that there is more work to do. And with that, I want to say that we can't become complacent on the journey. We cannot become complacent on this journey. And as DEI thought leaders, we really do have to demonstrate our courage and our commitment to this inclusion journey. But equal to that, we have to demonstrate a willingness to compromise and to collaborate with one another to really sustain and move forward the progress that we are making. But as we are doing it, because the work is never done, we have to celebrate the wins. And the wins are going to look different. The wins are going to look different. So the wins are going to show up in our spend numbers sometimes. The wins are going to show up as we are making the investment in development opportunities or programs that our partners are putting together to help suppliers grow. Just so many different ways. And so we have to make sure that as we're doing that, we don't miss the opportunity to celebrate the wins and know that they show up in very different ways.
It's a great point, Terrence. And we're going to talk a little bit more in a second about, you know, what we need to be doing to grow that base and help one another succeed. And certainly, Michaela, we're going to talk in just a second about, you know, one of the things that all of this work has done is shatter myths and stereotypes and what LGBTQ people can achieve, the kinds of industries that we are in. You know, I think a lot of us are celebrating even after the historic election and a lot of the work that's happened now that, you know, we're the generation that's going to see the last of the firsts. But what's incumbent upon us is making sure that that it doesn't end there, which is a great segue to talk with you, Marquita, about continuing this work, sort of the next leg of the race, because, you know, as Terrence mentioned, it was a big, diverse coalition that got us where we are. And you similarly said, why should we wait? And you picked up that torch and ran with it, encouraging Los Angeles City and county and agencies throughout the region to get on board and also start recognizing LGBTBEs. So talk to us about not only how we got there and how we're carrying this torch forward and have you know, created this ripple effect with so many of our California chambers throughout the state, but also what it's done as a real spotlight for you and the chamber and the community and the businesses to say, we're here and we're playing for keeps.
Sure. Thank you, Jonathan. At the time that we won the LGBT inclusion in the city of Los Angeles, it made Los Angeles the largest city in the nation at the time to do so. But as you, of course, know, this January, due to the great advocacy work by the NGLCC, New York now recognizes LGBTBEs as minority businesses. So Los Angeles has been bumped out of that top spot, and we are now the second largest city in the nation.
Hey, but you got there first, so you get, don't worry, extra jewels in the crown for you.
Right. So we're the second largest city in the nation to do so, but we're very proud of the accomplishments, the inroads, and the opportunities created in our city, and how LA's recognition of LGBTBEs has and will continue to influence other municipalities. In less than 7 years, California as a whole has seen LGBT inclusion in the supply chains of the public utilities, financial institutions, the insurance industry, and the automotive industry. We've also seen LGBTB inclusion in major studios, the Super Bowl, several municipalities, the transportation sector, and by the summer, we expect to receive the announcement of LGBTBE inclusion for the county as well. Some of the inclusion has come as a result of legislation, and some of it has come due to the Chamber's strategic messaging that a robust diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy must include supplier diversity. Corporate partners truly committed to LGBTB inclusion align with the Chamber to both cultivate and identify contract-ready suppliers. And the Chamber has 15 corporate partners from the segments I just listed. I won't list them all, but I do want to thank Southern California Edison for being on the list and for the intentional engagement and support they provide to the Chamber and to our members. You asked about opportunities.
Yeah.
The opportunities that come out of these corporate partnerships range from technical assistance to mentorship to matchmaking opportunities to RFPs. Because of our corporate partnerships, the LGLCC is able to provide a month-long concierge procurement series for diverse suppliers, technical assistance workshops, and LGBTQ economic summit with matchmaking sessions. And we also do a how to do business with workshop series where diverse suppliers can directly engage with our corporate partners. The biggest challenges we're facing right now is that while supplier diversity has been a business practice for about 52 years now, LGBTBE certification is still relatively new. So continued education for both suppliers as well as purchasers is ongoing. Some of the other challenges we encounter is that there are still LGBT firms who are reticent to label themselves LGBT due to societal restraints. Some suppliers don't want to take on the task of getting certified because there's just not enough success stories to prove that certification can impact their business. Also, supplier diversity differs from industry to industry. So in some cases, we're finding LGBT certified suppliers who are having difficulty navigating one industry to the next. So public utilities are very different than navigating corporations. Navigating the transportation sector is very different than navigating a municipality, for example. And another challenge that we're finding is that sometimes companies who recognize LGBTBEs, they recognize them, but they don't put in the intentional effort to, aligning with the community. So on paper, they have diversified their supply chain, but because there's no internal accountability, year over year, there's zero spend with LGBTBEs. So we have seen that just, asking a company to report their spend, has had a huge impact. There was legislation that was passed in 2012 requiring the insurance industry to report its diverse spend in all communities. And that's yielded a 1,000% growth in spend. So that's just 1,000% growth just by reporting, just having to report the spend. It kind of pushes those companies to go out and look. They're like, we're going to have to show up once a year and actually report on these numbers. So maybe we should actually put in some effort. And even without any sort of punitive efforts around them not doing that spend, there's been a 1,000% growth in spend just since 2012. So that's a short list of opportunities and challenges. Through our programming and partnerships, we know that the opportunities will continue to outweigh the challenges. So for any LGBTQ business owner looking for a resource or any corporate entity looking to diversify its supply chain, the LGLCC is your best friend in business, and you can find us online at laglcc.org.
Well, we're done here. Drop the mic. We're all going home. No, terrific as always. Thank you, Marquita. And both you and Terrence brought up such valuable points about, we cannot let this success exist in a vacuum. We have to get out beyond our bubble of the people that we know so that we can continue sharing the wealth, sharing the resources, sharing the success stories to inspire others. I love that so many, particularly LGBTQ celebrities and folks out there use the phrase opportunity model. You don't have to be just like me. You just need to know that you can do something that I did and you can take it and run with it. And I think it's so important and an encouraging a moment to encourage all the suppliers who are listening to make sure you reach out to the NGLCC. Tell us your successes, whether they're, just hiring new staff or getting the big contract or everything in between. Your journey is going to inspire someone else, and we want to help tell it. And that's going to only help, our affiliate chambers attract more members and partners, help our corporate partners, develop stronger strategies. And then now, to you, Michaela, help us give back by elevating the work of community partners like you, not just in your extraordinary restaurants, but also in really the life-saving work you're doing by underscoring the value and importance of understanding and inclusion at every level of a company. So I want to talk about that a little bit. You're such a great example of someone who has harnessed this network as both a business owner and a community, leader and executive of an organization. I would imagine you have a lot of tough conversations in your job. They can't always be very easy, but what are some of the most, eye-opening takeaways that you have in some of these initial conversations with people?
First of all, let me thank Marquita for all the work she's done in Los Angeles. And I think we like to think the wind blows from west to east. So I think a lot of the work that starts here in LA tends to move across the country and help change there. Although I'd say New York feels they do their share, so maybe it meets in the middle. Mark, I'll give one example that'll help answer your question. Marquita and I happened to neither of us knew the other was going to be there, but we happened to see each other in New York about 3 years ago at the Out in Tech conference in New York City, and it was a really interesting conference for me. I was moderating a panel. And there were people on the panel like Hewlett Packard, Amazon, and they really got it, right? They really got the value of diversity in their companies. The gentleman from Hewlett Packard was mentioning, how we realized that it's diversity in our staffing, in our company, that really produces products and services that reflect the world that we live in, rather than, and so there was a real value that they're recognizing. But what's been eye-opening for me is that that's inconsistent. It's inconsistent. There's some companies like that really take, walk the walk, but there's so many that, while trying to change policies and practices, are really not changing culture. And we still face 3 times the unemployment in the transgender and non-binary and intersex communities than the rest of the nation, because the culture in a company, if they don't work with a group like, okay, Trans Can Work, please go to transcanwork.org to find out more about us and what we do.
We'll drop that in the chat, don't you worry.
If they don't work with someone who can help educate and actually, change culture, the way people see these opportunities and how to work with people from our community, when it doesn't work its way down to the actual hiring practices, because they're afraid to hire if they don't understand. So, there's an incredible amount of talent in our community, and it needs to be tapped. But one of the statistics that really has opened a lot of eyes, and I think not enough people realize it, is that it's the non-binary community that's by far the fastest growing in the LGBT space. Youth today want that freedom and are taking it to be who they feel they are and not to fit into the boxes. A Williams Institute study showed that in California, 27% of the kids 12 to 17 years old were identifying in some important ways as non-conforming. So, companies that that recognize this change and that it's coming are going to be way ahead in terms of having a diverse and successful workforce. And some of the others may get run over by the train if they just don't prepare themselves. So
Mikhaila, that's such a great point, because that's actually the next thing I want to talk about is, what's the cost here? And I think particularly to our suppliers on the line, that's a really valuable thing to know, because we heard on the supplier panel, marrying your identity and your values with a corporation's values helps strengthen the partnership, makes it all the more long-term, and then again, amplifies opportunities for more people to hook on and participate in that kind of work. So talk to us a little bit about that cost, and then I'm going to sort of work our way back through Marquita and Terrence about, those being strategies to success for suppliers and chambers and support organizations, that we've got to get this right or we all fail if any part of our community is left behind.
Yeah, I think we're all starting to get it. It's interesting. COVID's been an opportunity for a lot of reflection, and maybe an opportunity for change in the way we look at a lot of things in life. And I think hopefully most of us or all of us are starting to realize that when someone gets to work in an atmosphere that really they feel that is values them and who they are, they're going to produce more. I'd love to get the opportunity I understand supplier change because of my other business. And I'd love to get the opportunity, after this, to work more with NGLCC and the Utilities Commission and make sure those suppliers have the opportunity, have the tools they need, and are making commitments to diversity.
So important. We hear that a lot with our suppliers, especially the ones that are really scaling up to be prime size, that not only having their own internal tier 2 supplier diversity programs so that they're paying it forward, but also these inclusive policies, like you're saying, really understanding what it means to be an inclusive workplace. So to you, Marquita, as someone who runs one and advises a ton of workplaces in the network of the LGCC, tell us a little bit about that. How is the intersection of work like that that we hear Mikhaila and so many other organizations you work with do, how does it make your work better, and how is that going to help our business owners succeed by really thinking about including those DEI strategies as part of their business success?
Well, first of all, I definitely want to agree with you. It's been said, until all of us are free, none of us are free. And the
Yes.
LGLCC has actually worked with Trans Can Work to educate small businesses as well as larger businesses on the importance of inclusion and the importance of employing trans and gender nonconforming persons, and not just the importance, but also what it means when you bring trans and gender nonconforming people into the workplace. How do you engage them? How do you address them? What are the questions? How do you make them feel respected and included? And so we've done a lot of that programming with the Chamber. We've done it in partnership with Trans Can Work, as well as some other trans DE&I individuals in our constituency. We've also done programming on unconscious bias, which has been very, very impactful and important. We've done affinity groups with our BIPOC constituency. We do that every 3 months. We've also done affinity groups for the women who are part of our constituency. And we do that partly as a networking space, but also to find out from them if there are any blind spots in our programming and the things that we do, or any blind spots that they've seen in our corporate partners or any of our strategic partners that they would like to see addressed. And we keep that consistent engagement so that we're making sure that everyone feels heard and included.
So important. Thanks for that. And it's a good excuse too to remind everyone, you're not alone on this journey. No one expects you to have all the answers. And that's why we've got great advisors and support networks like Trans Can Work. We've got dozens of LGBTBEs who specialize in this kind of training. So many of our corporate partners take advantage of them. So reach out to the NGLCC, reach out through the Engagement Center. Let us help you pair up with great suppliers who can help you elevate this and not only strengthen your company, but strengthen your value premise as a supplier. Which lets us come to you, Terrence, sort of as we're talking about strategies that help a supplier cut through and win. How does this intersection of their values and your values matter, and how do they use that to get more success in utilities and in really the broader supplier world?
Well, first of all, let me just say, as you all can see, why we partner with the LGCC and TransCan Work. They have been amazing partners to Southern California Edison, along with NGLCC and several others. And I will tell you, gathering around your shared values and commitment are so important when you're developing these relationships and partnerships in terms of how you're going to move the work forward. What is also very important is that we are not applying a one-size-fits-all approach in our efforts. We have to be willing to lean in and listen and meet groups and people where they are. And that's why having the right types of partnerships grounded and rooted around your shared values and commitments are so important. Um, and I just want to talk a little bit about, we talked earlier about successes and wins and what these partnerships have brought to us, and where we are at Southern California Edison leaning in and acting intentionally in our efforts to facilitate this inclusion and utilization of LGBTBEs. So as I said earlier, we proactively reached out to the LA LGCC to form that relationship well before AB 1678. Because we knew that this was a new journey for us. We knew as supplier diversity that we were going to have to change some mindsets within our company. I mean, we have committed people and we're going to need to lead into some of those allyships, but how were we going to do this? But we needed that partnership as a trusted advisor. And so we leveraged the chamber to develop some of those or deliver some of those critical programs to help firms develop their capability statements. They are very key to our efforts to source suppliers that we're bringing into our supply chain. Marquita will tell you, we share our opportunities. We send them out and we're intentional about how we share. Here are the requirements. Here are what we're looking for. And we do that. We take it back in. Our team vets and really works hard to get those included on those bid lists. The other thing is learning these relationships. So as we learn, LALGCC and TransCan Work, they know each other. But we were sponsoring the economic summit here in Los Angeles that the LALGCC was a host of. And that's where we met TransCan Work. Our team was there. We connected with Michaela and we said, hey, you have something that you can help us on this journey. And so our D&I team brought TransCan Work into the organization and facilitated some educational training because that is part of this journey. And so, I wanted to just take some time to really talk about that. The other things in terms of suppliers and what they can do is really, really understanding, and all our partners, if you will, understand the value of the supplier diversity programs beyond just the contracting component. There's so many things that our programs offer suppliers and advocacy organizations that are tools or opportunities for us to really continue and build upon our success. And so the development programs, things that we are doing is saying, okay, how do we provide those complementary opportunities for suppliers to get to some of the conferences or events, and not even just the ones with our partners. Right. Have to hear about the out in tech. Sometimes we're supporting those things, and we can provide those registrations to do that. We have to lean in. I think Jared will tell you AAA is a partner of ours, and we have net 60-day payment terms as the standard, as the default. But that's where we come in. He talks to us, we engage our supply management professionals, we talk through it, and we get those things moved. Everything is negotiable.
Yeah, no, and you hit it so importantly. I think it's such a great thing for us to broaden out and talk all three of you with about with the three of you is, communication is key. You do not get what you do not ask for. And particularly in supplier diversity, if you want the intro, ask for it. If you want the access, ask for it. We're here to help. We are great connectors. We're not such great psychics. So we have to know what you need to help you, including putting, Sabrina just mentioned, put your Q&A in there. We're going to get a lot of questions because I think we've got some perspectives here, but I want
to say one thing, which is not, we're talking about opportunity. We've partnered with the Human Rights Campaign, HRC, to do a series of national job fairs. They're starting out virtual, of course. We started out actually partnering with Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms in Atlanta for the very successful one in August. But we're doing Dallas to kick off Pride Month on June 1st. And each city we go into, we're donating money to local TGI organizations, LGBT organizations, to build out workforce development in that part of the country. So you can help us grow that garden, and you can also get some good talent. If you want to participate in the Dallas Job Fair, please feel free to go on our website, transcanwork.org, or reach out to me, Michaela at transcanwork.org.
Well, thanks, Michaela, because that's exactly what I'm trying to get at here is we have to show up for each other, and that's how we build the stronger network of connections here. So you that's a great element from Trans Can Work. Marquita, I see your hand up. How is this working and sort of building that ecosystem of shared opportunity and resources?
Sure. As Terrence mentioned, our corporate partners do often send RFPs and opportunities to us that we pass along to our LGBTBEs. You were talking about the ways in which we advocate for our LGBTBEs. One of the things that we do too is we will talk to our corporate partners if there's some sort of something that they're doing that you're not comfortable with, or if you have an issue with them and you're worried that they're going to retaliate in some way, you're not going to get another contract. You can work with your local chamber and say, hey, I'm having this issue, or I think, maybe the insurance level is too high. I can't promise that we'll be able to fix it, but we will be able to speak to that partner and say, is it possible, is there any room for you to consider doing this, that, and the third? Or if there are some bad practices, no one involved on this particular, town hall, but there have been agencies sometimes that have asked our LGBTBEs to do a job far below what is possible for them to do, and sometimes the supplier feels like, well, if I don't do it, then I'm not going to get another opportunity. Or there could be any number of issues, and we can talk to the partner. We won't mention the supplier, but we can be your advocates. And if we feel like there's something that needs to change with the partner, we can have that conversation. Again, I can't promise that it's absolutely going to change, but we can be your voice. And if there are a lot of if there are enough issues, we can maybe escalate it. Maybe we can engage NGLCC to help us have the conversation. But use us as your advocate always.
Absolutely. Well, and that's such a great point. Help us help you. We want to be there for you. And I know, Terrence, you say that often. So, and that's, I think, an important point to reaffirm, especially with our suppliers here. A lot of people talk about certification sort of being the key that unlocks contracts, but that's ignoring so much of what it can do for you. Don't think of it as a key. Think of it as a Swiss Army knife. It's got 50 things it can do for you. Introducing you to great local chambers, other suppliers, nonprofit organizations, scholarships, of course, access to capital, all the things you need. It is a deep toolbox of services. So Terrence, close us out on this topic. I know you had your hand up. You want to talk about, really leaning in, engaging people where they are. And then to that point, we'll go from you to questions.
Well, I do want to say something because, I love my grandmother and I'm going to quote her, and you said, closed mouths don't get fed. So you have not because you ask not. And that is so important that you do ask the question. And I also say it's a two-way street though, because I talk about partnership is about relationships that have mutual benefits. And the conversations about barriers or challenges don't have to start on the supplier side. They don't have to start with the organization. They can start with us as corporations. And Marquita mentioned this, and we've been having some discussions around this, the LGCC, the NGLCC around, how do we begin to create this safe space where suppliers, LGBTBEs, feel comfortable to self-identify. It was very troubling for me the last couple of years to come in contact with folks that I know that are LGBT businesses. And we had opportunities for them. Now they certify in other areas, but they didn't feel comfortable certifying in that space. And these were multi-million-dollar contracts. And it just struck me. I said, well, what can we do? How can we partner with our organizations to begin to create that safe space so people can have access to the opportunities that they can create themselves? Because without the access, we never get to the spin. The other thing I will tell you is that we have to, also think about I will tell you, Marquita will tell you, we are through this partnership going to address that that safe space issue. We're sponsoring a campaign that the chamber is going to do a promotion around, talking about the importance of certification and feeling comfortable to identify with who you are. And that's just so important. How we give suppliers the opportunity to advertise and promote their business and celebrate their success. So we're looking at a lot of different things. And again, it's that value beyond just that contracting element.
Right. Well said, all three of you. Thank you for that. Let's, to that point about a safe space, I know we've got a lot of people with a lot of good questions and you're in great company. So Sabrina, can invite you back to help with some Q&A here. Do we have some thoughts coming in? I know I've been getting a bunch of texts saying, I've got something, come to me.
Yeah, Jonathan, thank you so much. And thanks to our amazing panel. Y'all really are inspiring and just leading the way in your respective industries and arenas. I want to start first with a question to Terrence, and this sort of piggybacks off of the last panel that we had. And the question here is, how do you recommend a supplier gets engaged, right? So should they start in their My NGLCC portal and build it out through NGLCC? Should they jump into the clearinghouse? Should they get into the SCE portal? What should a supplier do to start that interaction with your company outside of meeting face-to-face at the LGLCC events and so on and so forth, and the NGLCC?
I absolutely think that you have to leverage every channel. And it's not just one channel. It may be connecting with us through the LGCC, the NGLCC. It may be, leveraging your relationships with other folks who know us. That, business gets done through people. And sometimes when I have my colleagues or others, they're saying, hey, I got this supplier that I really want you to meet. And they send that means something to me. Okay, let me do that. So you have to leverage every channel. I will tell you, at Southern California Edison, we do not believe your opportunity to contracting is through supplier diversity. That's not the only door. If you have relationships in procurement, you should leverage those relationships in procurement. If you have relationships in the business, you should leverage those relationships in the business. Now, I would ask you, out of courtesy, it's always good to let your supplier diversity team know that who you know and how you're engaging, because they can be a partner internally. They probably can give you some additional nuggets. So as you're having those conversations with those other folks, ask them about this. Think about this. Oh, let me look at you. You're going to have a review or a meeting with the procurement folks. Can I take a look at your presentation? Here, I would tweak these things, move these things around, pull this up front because this opportunity is coming up in the next 12 months.
Great advice.
Thank you for that, Terrence. And this is our final question, because it's hard to believe we are already moving on to the end of the program. But Marquita, this is for you. And I really want to focus in on how you were talking about how the LGLCC works with certified suppliers. Can you just underscore and talk a little bit about that important relationship between national and local, and why certification is so important in a local context, like at the LGLCC?
Mm.
Yes, absolutely. The local affiliate chambers are always going to be your resource on the ground in your city. We are a partner organization of the NGLCC. We can answer any questions that you have about certification. We'll also do your site visit. Being a member of the LAGLCC means that NGLCC will waive your $400 application fee. So that's amazing. And also we are partnered with all of the LGBTQ chambers in the Pacific region. So we have a relationship. And if you want to join any one of us, you can get 50% off of your membership, which then gives you another space to market your business, other programming you can connect with, other partners that you can connect with. So there are so many, there's all of the California chambers, the Vegas chambers, Oregon, Washington, so forth and so on. And so those are multiple opportunities for you to connect with partners in those regions. And we also provide a lot of programming for our certified suppliers, and we send RFPs to you if it is applicable. We keep your capability statement. So if we see an opportunity and we know that you'll be perfect for it, we'll send it along for you. As I mentioned, we will also advocate for you. One of the other things, I saw something in the chat, someone said that they put in a lot of work trying to work with an entity to put in an RFP, and the whatever, I don't know if it was the utility never got back to them, which is frustrating. I can completely understand how that could be extremely frustrating. So we might just kind of talk to the utility on the side about how they might want to better engage with certified suppliers. We might even be able to find out for you why you didn't get the opportunity, but we do encourage you to actually make that call yourself so that you can continue to develop that relationship with that entity. You want to continue to make sure they know your name and your email address and all of that sort of thing. So we really are your best friend in business. We literally only exist to help get you opportunities. That's why we get out of bed in the morning. So we provide technical assistance, leadership, advocacy, visibility in your local area. So it's a very, very tiny investment. So if you're not already part of a local LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce, I really encourage you to do so. Some of the programming might not be good for you. You may not need a luncheon or a mixer. That might be for smaller businesses, but for all of the certification resources that we provide, I really encourage you to align with one of us.
And as Michaela said so beautifully, come water that garden. Come help things grow and network and spread things together. So thank you. That is, the three of you have just brought such valuable insight today. So Michaela, Marquita, and Terrence, thank you so much for being with us. Thanks for the work you do in our communities. Thanks for your leadership. And thanks for being part of the NGLCC and local affiliate family. This is how we continue to grow. So, and thanks for the pleasure of letting me have this conversation with you all. We'll see you real soon.
Thank you.
Jonathan, thank you. To our panelists, thank you so much. Folks on the line, we are going to close out the program in just a brief minute, but you're going to hear from somebody really special that President Batcher mentioned at the beginning of today's program, and that's Stephanie Green at the CPUC. Before I introduce Stephanie, I want to take this opportunity to once again thank all of our incredible panelists, moderators, and speakers today. Also to remind you that we actually have a chance to dive into this further. Immediately following this, we are going into our networking session. Team NGLCC is dropping that link for the networking session into the chat. But before we do that, it is my pleasure to welcome Stephanie Green, Program and Project Supervisor for Business and Community Outreach at the California Public Utilities Commission. Take it away, Stephanie, and thanks so much for being here. Hi, Stephanie, you're on mute. Zoom world we live in.
I didn't want to chime in on the previous panelists, so I had it on mute. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Stephanie Green. I oversee the CPUC Supplier Diversity Program, and I just want to thank all the panelists today. What an exciting morning. And I want to say congratulations to all of you for participating today, because events like this are so key and important to your success. And participating in your chambers like this is so important. Some of the things we learned today, I have to tell you, California is going to rebound. Our economy is going to rebound. UCLA forecasts that we are going to have a robust economy starting this spring. California is the 5th largest economy in the world. So there is going to be opportunity. There is opportunity. Take advantage of it. And today we've heard a lot of things and a lot of ways to take advantage of this opportunity. We heard about leadership strategies for success, the importance of relationships and continued transparency. We learned that the chamber is going to have a dedicated person in California to help with, to really give them a new human capital investment and to help with building the chamber's number of certified firms. So that's exciting. And we heard about the importance of certification and understanding the procurement process, taking advantage of educational opportunities, really leveraging your certification. And in particular, if you have your LGBT certification, you also want to get into the clearinghouse. A lot of talk of relationships and leveraging relationships, both with the chambers, partnerships with other vendors, joint ventures. We talked about giving back to our communities and participating in the chambers, in the chamber events. We talked about pursuing opportunities that you can't win if you don't play. You definitely have to go out there, you have to bid, you have to participate. Talked about why LGBT certification is so important and why it means so much. That service and quality of your service is key to getting a contract and pursuing opportunities, that you have to have a great capability statement. We talked about advocacy and inclusion and the role that our allies can play. We talked about the fact you can't be complacent on our journey and we have to be willing to collaborate and compromise, celebrate our wins, and make sure you're a success story that you can serve as a model, an opportunity model. And we talked a lot about our chambers and the amazing role the chambers can play and what a great resource they are, and leveraging our partnerships with the chambers, and how supply diversity programs are more than just contracting, but they're also educational and development opportunities. You can't get what you don't ask for, so you got to be at the table to get fed. And lastly, that it's all about relationships, that business is about the people you know, and people do business with the people they know. So leverage those relationships. And I will also comment that the CPUC ourselves, speaking of opportunities and taking advantage of opportunities, we have 2 expos a year, and one of our expos is going to be on April 28th. It's going to be virtual. So I'll make sure I send that information to Justin so he can get it out to you all. And we also, again, are going to have our en banc on October 14th. So those were just some of the tips we heard today. Remember, pursue those opportunities, go out there and see success. And I congratulate you all today for participating, because this is another step in your path to success. Thank you all today. I look forward to the rest of the afternoon. I know there's going to be a session next for networking. So thank you all, and please use the CPUC and myself as a resource.
All right, Stephanie, we would like to thank you so much for not only your closing remarks, but also a personal thank you from NGLCC for all the work that you do for the utilities, the people of California, and all the diverse communities that you support. Also, I must say, we would like to extend a very well-deserved thank you to our California affiliate chambers for all the amazing work that you do and for your representation today. And hello, my name is Greg Schimber. I'm the Vice President of Corporate Relations at NGLCC, and my pronouns are he and him. So this will conclude this portion of the town hall. And we're going to move into the next and final portion of today's event, and this will be the networking reception. There has been a link dropped into the chat feature, and you all also should have received that in your reservation as well. So we ask that you promptly move from this platform and connect to the networking reception, and we will see you briefly over there.